Hello and welcome to Cairns.
Yes, sir.
First
Pretty
interview
beautiful.
is with Mr. Jamie Riddle. Jamie, how are you?
I'm doing well. Happy to be on the show. It's obviously a big step up on the podcast world, so I'm happy to be here.
I mean, you told me you were like, we got to do it today because I have all these other things lined out. So I was like, I want to make sure that I get Jamie on because you're like, you're a hot commodity now.
Right now, it's looking good. I mean, you do one good race, and then kind of everyone realizes what your potential is. It's a funny thing, but yeah, I'm pretty pumped to be on this one.
What has been like the biggest realization for you this season?
The biggest realization, we're kind of speaking before the pod, Lionel Saunders, is
Yeah.
like, he's one of the guys I really look up to, and I've said this multiple times on my YouTube series and stuff. And I think ultimately, like, the biggest realization is your way is the best way.
Yeah.
And, believing in yourself, backing yourself, having a small team, and really just enjoying life translates into results. And the ability to choose is also like such a powerful thing. So such a simple realization, but once I realized that, I feel like things are taking the turn for the better, and it makes me super optimistic for my career and life in general.
Yeah. So it's like you have to look at your competitors, right? Just like so that you're aware of the situation, but also doing your own race is the most important.
Yeah, I think as I'm getting faster and more into like the results, the top end of results at least, I would say that looking at competitors is actually not going to assist or help too much, to be honest.
Yeah.
Um, at least for me, I think that's just led me down a bit of a spiral in the past, in just the way I prepared, and um, just trusting myself and trusting what I'm doing, trusting my coach, my team, and yeah, just letting me flourish in my own time.
Yeah. Who's your coach? I don't know if a lot of people know who you're coached by.
Nico Montavon, and he's been with me for 8-9 years.
Oh,
So
wow.
he's like my second father at this point. I was kind of his first athlete, and yeah, I think a coach relationship is pretty much similar to like everything in life, whether it be a girlfriend or whether it be whatever. Like you always think you want more. You always like looking outside, like is the grass green on the other side? But the grass is green where you water it. And I think yeah, me and my coach have just been nurturing our relationship and learning from others, and yeah, we're at a point now where it's like a mutually beneficial relationship, and we are on the way to shocking the world very soon.
Cool. I don't know if a lot of people know because obviously you've just kind of came on to the long course scene, and our podcast and most of our listeners are kind of follow that journey. And now that you're coming into that, kind of tell the people as far as where your journey kind of started and then up until this point.
Yeah, I think very typical journey. Like I think a lot of triathletes get in because of their parents or something.
Yeah.
And the same happened to me. The story goes that unfortunately I lost a brother, and that kind of was the spark for my father to get back into triathlon after getting really big and fat over the years. And yeah, he just saw my brother fighting for his life in a coma, and he felt a message from a higher power just saying like, look at him fighting for his life and look at you throwing yours away. And it led him down a path of trying to do the Ironman, which led into doing the Ironman, but then also competing like on the top end of his age group, and got like a world championship in the 70.3 for his age group. And then we went to Kona. So yeah, I got to follow him around doing the whole Ironman circuit essentially,
Yeah.
which was really cool. And that was kind of the birth of the dream. And it was always Kona. But yeah, I think as you start the sport, obviously you can't do an Ironman until you're 18 or whatever the case may be. So naturally you do the short course,
Right.
and you get stuck in that. And the Olympic dream was birthed. But for me, I don't know why. Actually, I do know why. But the dream was always Ironman, and the dream is still always like long course.
Yeah.
It plays into my strengths, but it's also just the journey of like Ironman is a lot, I would say, tougher than the short course in some ways.
Yeah.
So I pursued the short course. I got my Olympic dream. I don't think I reached my full potential in that, but like pretty suddenly after Paris Olympics, I said, you know what, I'm gonna do what I want to do, and that is where I am today.
I wouldn't say that people get stuck in that kind of the Olympic pipeline and cycle and stuff and do like multiple tours and like go to 2 or 3 Olympics. Is that something that you want to do, or no? You're like, I'm content with having my Paris journey, and I want to look forward now to 70.3 Worlds and Nice this year, Kona starting next year.
Yeah, it's a tricky one. Like, there's always a part of me that like would like to go back to LA, and it's
Yeah.
definitely not ruled out. Like, I think I could most certainly like go back, and especially from South Africa, it's definitely possible.
Yeah.
Um, but I think ultimately for me, it just came down to like trying to weigh the reasons as to why I was doing short course.
Mm.
Like, what was the reason? And I think like if you're an athlete, you do have this like never die attitude, or this like I want to be the best.
Yeah.
And when you get into that cycle of short course triathlon, it takes years and years and years to master your craft. And it would take me another 5, 6, 7 years to, I think, fight at that pointy end and really like show the true potential. And I think ultimately I would have been doing short course just to prove people that I can do it, not for myself.
Yeah.
And that's not how I want to live my life. So I decided to like play to my strengths, which is creating my own brand, which is the way I race, and everything blends itself into doing mid and long course, and that's kind of why the decision led to that.
Yeah. Cool. So let's kind of talk about this season. Would you kind of say that your season for middle distance started in Western Australia last year?
Trying to
Or would you say that it started in South Africa this year?
I would say it started almost like 2 weeks after the Olympics in a way. Obviously, there was no race, but the decision had been made.
Yeah.
But I was like, okay, I'm packing it up.
Yeah.
And that was a tough decision. But yeah, letting go of something that's hold onto you for so long, it's quite, there's a lot of, again, power in that. So I think that's kind of where it all began, was
Yeah.
like the decision to say, okay, I'm going to commit to this and I'm going to go for it. And then, yeah, the first race that was like properly in the long course, mid course scene was Bustleton,
Yep.
which went really, really well. I think it was, yeah, a great performance. It was one of the last Pro Series races, so you had a lot of guys there, especially heavy hitters on the bike.
Yeah.
And I held my own and kind of just blew up with a 5Ks to go. Otherwise, I think I could have won, but that's racing. So, and then I think in the post-race interview, I announced that I was going to do an Ironman, which I hadn't spoken to my coach or my father, who are very like in my close knit. So it came to news to them as well. But yeah, and that Ironman Nelson Mandela Bay was very premature, and like I was way out of my depth. I wasn't prepared. I had no idea what I was doing. But when it's a home race and you've announced that you can't pull out,
Yeah.
so essentially I just went into that race saying, okay, well, let's defend the Nice position, and let's like just, doesn't matter how far back you are, just make sure that you can get that Nice slot.
Yeah.
And I felt confident that if nothing crazy went wrong, I would have been able to do that. But then like a lot of stuff went wrong.
Yeah.
And
You
I
had to
still
fight
managed
for
to
it.
do that.
Yeah, you had to fight for it.
Yeah, that is the deepest I've ever gone, and I'm praying to the Lord above that I don't have to go that deep this weekend.
So what was the one thing that you would say, you can give like a couple, but what's like the key thing that you learned doing South Africa?
I think there's two ways to look at like learnings. There's like obviously the very like in the world, like
Yeah.
understanding very easy things that you can change. There were a lot of things I could change in terms of like the preparation was one thing. Making sure that I didn't now go and I felt like I needed to reinvent the wheel to go do an Ironman. And that kind of just made me so tired and so fatigued that I would have like 3, 4 really big days and then crash and burn. So that was one thing I realized. I don't need to do that.
Yeah.
In the race itself, you know, down to the tires you choose, the head position, the helmets, the nutrition.
PSI on your tires, everything.
Yeah, it is. It is so like the nitty gritties are so small, but end up adding up in such a way that like I remember my power numbers were higher than guys that rode like 10 minutes into me, and you know, looking back at everything, I was like, of course, like the tires I was using, my head position, I looked like I was like, trying to look for,
Yeah.
I don't know, but that was like the very physical, and then of course that 25, 30K mark,
Yeah.
being able to hit that mark and really being able to overcome it is something that you can't prepare for. So I'm hoping that that's given me a lot of experience going into this race. And then in terms of like mentally, which I think Ironman is essentially comes down to that, you're capable of far more than you think you are.
Yeah.
And a big thing that my coach and I work on, and I try to work on as much as possible, is how can I overcome those barriers or those demons during a race, and trying to find the right tools to be able to do that.
Yeah. So then fast forward, you raced a couple weeks ago in San Francisco. What was kind of that experience like whenever you got the call that you were going to be getting a wild card? Was it an easy decision for you, or was it something that you kind of took a little bit of time to think about?
I got a wildcard offer for Singapore,
Yeah.
and I turned it down. So like, I kind of saw it coming that I was going to get offered again. So when they offered it to me, I said yes because I had already thought of it for quite some time before.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's really tricky because the T100 is a very, very cool series with the best guys in the world, and all these sorts of things. However, there's still ways to go in the series in some ways.
Yeah.
Like, I think the business plan is there, but it's not executed to perfection yet.
Yeah.
So, and why I mention that is because if the T100 series was everything it's meant to be, there's no doubt that I would can all this Ironman stuff and go straight in the T100 and fully commit to that. But yeah, I think there's still so much that the Ironman holds in terms of
Like the
series.
prestige.
The prestige, yes. But then also think about it. Like you have a series that is contracted athletes. And that's really cool if the athletes show up.
Yeah.
But if the contract athletes don't show up and they hand out these wild cards, which they usually give to merited athletes, the issue that I have is like, let's look back at Oceanside.
Mm-hmm.
One of the key players to making that race what it was Seth Ryder.
Right.
And if Ironman Pro Series was limited to only contracted athletes, Seth Ryder would not have been in that race.
Yeah.
And then you miss out on good racing.
Yeah.
So even in the T100 to some extent, like San Francisco was a brilliant race, in my opinion, the first 7. Incredible race, the first 7. And then kind of the next guys, and that's no disrespect to the other guys, they're all incredible athletes, but they might have had slightly off days. And if you had the race open to other people, it could have, shaken the race up a bit more.
Right.
But you can't do both. And I understand T100's concept, and I'm fully supporting it. And if they had to offer me a contract today, I'm taking it.
Yeah.
And I'll do my best to make as much noise and make the series as cool as possible, which I believe I can do with my racing and outside of racing. But yeah, I took it, and if they offer me another one, I'm gonna go. So
Yeah. You think it's just because they allow so much flexibility of like the people that want to do some Ironman racing can still do that and things like, or go back and do some ITU racing, same as Leo Berger, things like that.
yeah, I think you're correct, nail on the head. But like, it's just tricky. It's a lot of money, the contracts.
Yeah.
But it's not enough to turn down everything else.
Right. Yeah.
And I think like and I don't know if they can, but if there was another investor or something like that, I don't know how all this stuff works, but if the contracts were bumped up a little bit,
Yeah.
I feel like they could persuade the athletes to say T100 or nothing.
Right.
And then you've got the Formula One series, then you've got the PGA Open, like then you've got where you're signed into a series where you cannot leave.
Yeah.
And like the fact that Sam Long, and no disrespect to Sam Long, like I I look up to him. He's a great athlete. He's made smart moves in his career and all these sorts of things. But the fact that he did Eagleman and not San Francisco is absolutely insane, and I don't see how a series that is paying that much could let that happen.
Right. Yeah.
If I was contracted to T100, I would not be doing Ironman Nelson Mandela Bay. If I was contracted to T100, I would not be doing Cairns.
Yeah.
And they need to find a way to make sure that the athletes are loyal
Yeah.
to their series.
Yeah. I could see that. All right, so let's talk about the here and now. So we're here in Cairns, getting ready for the Ironman race coming up this weekend. This was always the plan for you? Was there a point where you were like, or even now, that you believe 100% that you can win?
Win this race?
Yeah.
Yes, I believe 100% I can win this race. And it was always the plan. Like when we set out the year, this was kind of actually not the A goal, but this was kind of the point where I thought that I feel like I can show my true colors in the long course scene, and really get a read on my potential for this. I think Ironman Nelson Mandela Bay, even though it was a good performance, I think it was a great performance taking everything into consideration, but from the outside it was pretty, it was a good average performance. Whereas I feel like this coming weekend, I think I would really like to. It's tricky because half of me really wants to go out there and shock the world and do like a big statement race.
Yeah.
But I think the smarter me needs to try and just, it doesn't matter if you win by 5 minutes or 1 second, like just try get over the line in first is the main objective. But yeah, obviously with the movements happening in T100, it's tricky. But as of now, they haven't said anything to me, so I'm going to continue my season as planned.
Yeah. So this weekend, is there things that you're going to kind of key off of? Is there people that you're concerned about in this race?
There's incredible athletes here, of course. I think I feel very confident in my abilities over swim, bike, and run.
Yeah.
And I think if you look at the start line, I may be the only one with no real weakness. You've got obviously like Nick Thompson, who's an incredible biker, solid runner, solid swimmer. You've got Matt Hansen, which is an incredible runner, weak swimmer. The list goes on and on.
Yeah.
Maybe Braden is the one that's kind of very similar to me.
He's won here 3 times. So.
Yeah. And Max Newman, of course, Max Newman. He's incredible on his day. But I think why I mentioned that I'm very confident in my abilities is my strategy is kind of just to be in second all day until the final 100 meters. Like if I can stalk whoever's in front of me and for the first time in my life race pretty boring, I think it'll be a big win for me because that's something I haven't actually conquered, is being patient and calculated.
Yeah.
So
it'll feel a little bit like a game for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that excites me because racing short course, you always got a gun to your head.
Mm-hmm.
T100, you got a gun to your head, and and in most races, and it's not to say that there's not going to be a point where I don't know, Matthew Marcotte puts in an attack, or Nick Thompson, or someone doesn't do something, or Matt Hansen comes flying past in the run. It's not to say that stuff's not going to happen, but it is nice knowing that I can, maybe play to my cards and my strengths and wait until the very, very last seconds.
Yeah. What does the rest of the season look like for you? Do you already have it planned out?
It's completely up in the air. I think I've qualified for Nice Worlds. I've qualified for Marbella, whatever it's called, 70.3 Worlds. It looks like I might have T100 opportunities. I've even thrown my hat into the Super Tri catalog, just
there
like,
you go.
Maybe if you want to just see me there.
Yeah.
Honestly, like it's all up in the air. I think a successful season for me now would be obviously taking the dub this weekend.
Yep.
And then going into the T100 and trying to secure a contract. Obviously with my 5th place, if I just get 4 more races, I could be looking at the season and fighting for a podium or top 5 in the series.
Yeah.
Which that would be the biggest dream, I think, because obviously financially it would help a lot, but also I think the guys in the T100 are still definitely the cream of the crop in terms of like Martin, Yele. Obviously Hayden's injured, but those guys I've raced over short course for many years, and I just know how strong the short course guys are, and that's again no disrespect to the long course guys. Rico's obviously demolished us this last weekend,
Yeah.
but yeah, I think the T100 would be the way to go if I could get the opportunity.
After you look at the season so far with South Africa and then this race, and then you're qualified for Nice and 70.3 Worlds, you also could have a shot at the Pro Series, right? You just need to throw in one more 70.3 score.
Yeah, I was actually talking to my father about that last night, but the thing is, because I gave up a lot of time in Nelson Mandela Bay,
Yeah.
it's the way the series is shaping up. A lot of people are giving up a lot of time, except for Magnus and Christian.
Yeah.
So it is shaping up to be quite an interesting Pro Series, not like last year, where it was very very tight.
Yeah.
However, let's say all my races go well the rest of the season, and I'm in the pointy end for all of them. I'm probably only looking at between 5th and 10th in the Pro Series,
Sure.
and I think 10th is like 10K,
Yeah.
whereas like 30th is 6.
Right.
So and no sponsors are looking at you to sponsor the 10th best in the world, like. So they don't incentivize you to really fight unless you're in that top 3, you know. So
Yeah.
whereas the T100, if I'm not mistaken, I think like 10th is still like 70K or something.
Yeah.
So
All right, let's talk about the future. So Ironman announced a couple months ago that they're going back to the Big Island. Kona's going to be the end-all be-all for racing. What does this look like for you over the next calendar year of like, do you have a race in mind that you're like, I want to qualify for Kona at this race
we're talking next season.
next season?
Yeah, definitely home race. Home
Yeah.
race.
Back to South Africa.
Yeah, back home. That's where I was born and raised. And I want to win that race. I want to win that race multiple times, and I want to make that a race like a staple every year.
Yeah.
Whether I'm chasing the T100, whatever the case may be, I want to make sure that I'm doing my bit in South Africa to keep the sport alive and keep it growing. And if I can do that in any way, I think that's getting on the start line, winning the race multiple times. So that would be the goal. And yeah, the biggest, wildest dream is Kona. However, the way the triathlon world is like being shaped, I don't know what the future holds. There could be the T100 could, absolutely change the game if they make the right moves, and Kona might lose its spark. I don't know.
What do you think the right move would be for the T100?
I think the right move would be to get a couple $1 million extra and to hand out contracts that eliminate the top 20 men and top 20 women from all other racing. And now you've got yourself an absolute like skeptical, like a show on your hands. You know, you have like this. If the top 20 men and the top 20 women are out of all other racing, then what is Kona World Champion? I mean, yeah, sure, you'll have guys that turn down the contracts and you'll have guys that are better at the Ironman distance, but I do think it would take away that, like, I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, but think about it. If you had Christian,
Yeah.
Gustav, if you got all those guys, I'm talking if you got Lionel, if you got Sam, if you got Hayden, across the board,
Yeah.
and obviously the females too, like Sam Laidlow.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know.
But you're talking also 50 years of history with Ironman World Championship in Kona.
Yeah,
So
and the age groupers.
yeah, I
and,
mean it's more than just that, and you've been to the island before. It's magic.
It is magic.
Yeah.
And hey, what do I know? I'm just like a triathlete racing. So who knows? But like, look, if triathlon stays the way it is as of today,
Yeah.
it's still a beautiful sport, and there's so much opportunity right now in the world being a professional. Almost too much.
Yeah. There's more opportunities now than have ever existed. So
Yeah, but it's also harder to win races than it ever has been,
Right.
in my opinion. Like, this race, like, even though it's not as packed as Texas or Frankfurt or even Nelson Mandela Bay, it's still got some heavy hitters.
yeah.
That, the winner of this race could potentially go and podium in Nice,
Yeah.
Yeah, it's super exciting. Very
Yeah.
exciting. Yeah.
Cool. What is one thing that you would want everyone else to know about you?
Ooh, curveball. What is one thing I would like everyone to know about me? Damn, I don't really know. I think I'm a very vulnerable guy. So if you follow me at all, you would kind of know the ins and outs of my life through and through. Um, Obviously, faith is a big thing to me.
Yeah.
So I think like I think the most important question in the world is there a God, and if there is a God, what can I do to be related to him? Forrest Frank. I don't know if you know that guy, but he said that. So I think that's the most important question in the world, and I believe that to be true. So that's something that I'd like people to know about me, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's good. I love Force Frank.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, if you are not following Jamie on social media, on Instagram or YouTube, be sure to follow him, subscribe to his channel. He puts out great content pretty much weekly, right?
Yeah, almost weekly. Yeah, it's obviously it's pretty tough keeping up with the schedules, but I've seen such an incredible community grown on my socials.
Yeah.
Like, you know, I feel like I'm in some ways outgrown the sport. I think I'm like overflowing into other
That's what you said
facets.
on your most recent YouTube videos. Like most people that follow you aren't even triathletes.
I can tell you like 50% of the people don't even know what the distances of an Ironman are,
Yeah.
which is really really cool.
Yeah.
And I think it's a great opportunity for me to like be a representative of the sport and to bring like I
More
don't know,
people in.
yeah, more
Yeah.
people in and yeah. So I think yeah, the social media stuff is and I enjoy it.
Yeah.
Like it's not a burden to me. Like I love triathlon, but I also love telling a story.
Yeah.
And triathlon allows me to tell a better story.
Yeah.
So it's pretty cool.
That's good. Well, thanks, Jamie, for your time and good luck this weekend.
Thank you.